Is Russia starting to prepare for the coming Ukrainian counteroffensive? Will they have the resources to mount a meaningful defense? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's April 25th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get into it. Okay, first we're going to take a look at the control map. And as you guys can see in Bakhmut, there's been no significant changes. The only significant change, significance being generous, is this small wooded area here is actually, it was listed as under Russian control. Now it's listed as Ukrainian control. And in the south, let's see if I can find it here. It's obviously not that prominent an area. I think it's right here. Sorry, sometimes they list these as minor frontline updates, and they're not actually that minor. Here we go. This area, this small area here, looks like Russia has advanced to take this small wood line here. So what you have is minimal changes, which is good because it means, as a general rule, the longer the defense has to set new positions, the better they're going to do defending it. And that's the case here in Bakhmut, where, again, Ukrainian forces probably fighting a delaying action. We look at the combat map. There's actually not been reported. We don't have data for Russian attacks in the last 24 hours. But here's where things get really interesting. Over the course of April, according to the UK's Ministry of Defense, Russia's average daily casualty rate has fallen by around 30%. This follows the exceptionally heavy fighting from January through March. And as you guys know, I took a look at recent Russian GoPro footage. Actually, it's rare to see the Russian military release GoPro footage of the fighting during this heavy period of combat in Volodar. And it's actually available not on Patreon, because you guys know Patreon doesn't want war content. And YouTube also has been really cracking down on demonetization. So that's why I've launched my own site, combatvetnews.com. Let's see if I can get it up here. My own site, combatvetnews.com. Here we go. Combatvetnews.com. We have the news stories that on national security that I can't get to in the daily updates. We got these for free. All the YouTube videos are on here for free. But if you want to support what I do, you can become a member, and it will get you access to the members only content. And this is some of the wildest combat videos, the GoPro footage, the drone footage, the stuff that YouTube definitely won't let me show you. And right here is the GoPro of the Russian Marines during this fighting in Volodar. It is really intense, and it gives us insight into how Russian forces are fighting, how the actual light infantry of the Russian armed forces actually operate. It's really fascinating. It's one of the only chances we've had to see it, and it gives us a lot of insight into how things are done. But it's a pretty high casualty method, right? They had small squads advancing, trying to take these footholds, but literally with squad-sized elements. And so they're so vulnerable when they're that when you have that small an element trying to take, 2 or 3 buildings. It makes sense that their casualty rate was really high over this period while they were trying to take a wide array of objectives. And in the past months, as they point out, Russia has scaled down its objectives. They want to complete basically just seizing Bakhmut. That's the only territory they want to take. Meaning that the estimates, though the UK doesn't think the numbers are right, but the general trend is about correct. A 30% drop in daily Russian casualty rates. That also aligns with around a 50 to 40% drop in daily attacks, which makes sense. This is, of course, because Russian forces are probably pivoting to and preparing for Ukrainian offensive operations. Now, when this is not just what Russia's doing, they also are reshuffling their command structure in order to be better prepared for the defensive. The Eastern Military District's Colonel Rustam Muradov has been dismissed. They think it's probably because he too has launched a absolutely disastrous offensive on Volodar. That lost a lot of military equipment and really incurred a lot of casualties among Russian military personnel. And this is one of their marine divisions, or Russian naval infantry. And so a very highly trained subset of the Russian military that they've, again, incurred just so many losses that it's placed Russia as sort of behind the eight ball, so to speak, when they have to pivot to the defensive now. Russian forces, right? General Alexander Dvornikov has also been forced to retire. And this mill blogger also claims that the Western Military District, Colonel General Alexander Zuralyevov, sorry, I don't speak Russian, has also been forced into retirement, right? So this seems like a real house cleaning, probably because the offensive has wrapped up, right? I suspect that these officers probably were briefing the Kremlin that they were attriting Ukrainian forces and that Ukrainian forces would break. They haven't. The offensive has been declared complete. And without having achieved their assigned objectives, these officers are going to be sent by the wayside. This also includes some Russian Pacific Fleet commanders, and that some of these commanders are being put into low stakes positions. It's rumored that one is going to actually be helping form Gazprom's private security company. Another supposedly was assigned to a military sport program. So what we're looking at is probably a house cleaning, hoping to bring in new blood, officers with better visions, and someone who is prepared to better execute the task in front of them, which is the defense of the occupied territories from the Ukrainian offensive. Now, again, the problem is whoever comes in is going to inherit a Russian military that has taken a lot of casualties, and one that is certainly making progress in Bakhmut, but is unlikely to make additional progress beyond taking Bakhmut, and that. It becomes, the more mistakes you make, they compound, right? This is how war goes. And Russia has taken a lot of casualties, but they also have a deep bench. They can mobilize a lot more conscripts, bring in a lot more contract soldiers. And so that's going to be the big question here is, can Ukraine take advantage of its temporary advantage over Russian forces in terms of equipment, attrition rate, before Russia can bring more troops and resources to bear on the conflict. Anyway, guys, that is all I had. As always, I appreciate you. Check out combatvetnews.com. Thanks to our lieutenant tier members. You guys are the ones who make this whole thing possible. And of course, thanks especially to our colonel tier members for their support to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one.